Good evening to all. It's 6 o'clock, an hour has arrived. And we'd like to speak also to Tom. Thank you for tuning in and watching us. I hope you can hear
Evening,
us.
sir.
I will call our Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order. Thank each for participating.
Ed, how you doing?
And we were anticipating the full board to be here, but this is a work session for tonight to look at our 21-22 budget. That's what we will be discussing. And other issue will be discussed at another meeting, but just tonight will be our budget issues. And also under 4, say other matters, do have some appropriation for the school. I'd like for us to appropriate money for some carryover fund that they have. But other than that, it would be concerning the budget, what we have. And I hope each had taken the opportunity to look at what Wayne had emailed us. And for Jenny also made some correction, we thank you. And we will yield the floor to Wayne as we go over the budget, and we go from kind of page to page and explain the changes.
Okay, thank y'all. First off, I want to start off by thanking Ed and Sandra for all their work, helping us develop that. Judy, Jenny, Nancy, everybody, it does take a large team to get this all together. I'm just the front man for it. We'll go ahead and start off with the main budget. Throughout this budget, you'll see some increases. We did do the 5% for both salaries for both the county and schools. We've also looked by some departments trying to increase those more. We've got some people that were behind in their scales, etc. We have some departments that we have tried to increase up to 10% when we found that they were behind some of our neighboring counties with regards to the starting salary, etc. When you raise the starting salary up, that means then you get compression, so you've got to go out through the entire department. So we have several of those in here. But other than that, we'll go ahead. There are no tax increases, and we've basically met most people's funding requests. I'll go over the ones that haven't and things of that nature. No real changes on Board of Supervisors, County Administration, similar. County Attorney is the same, Commissioner. The only ones in there that got more than the 5 we looked at, you have some for him and the Treasurer, where you have people who've gotten their certifications. Also with the Sheriff's Office, it's the same thing. Also at Clerk's Office, etc. On the constitutionals, they do get a larger raise when they get those certifications. Other than that, there is an increase in his CAMA contract for that part of his system on the Commissioner of Revenues. Nothing on Board of Equalization. This is an off year, so they've only got a couple of meetings, I think, training. Treasurer is the same. Major increases in many of these are insurance. If you had somebody from a family plan who didn't have any insurance, that's throughout anywhere. Data processing, there is an additional person in there for IT. We need one. There's also an increase in maintenance service contracts. Some of these will begin July 1, some of them later on in the year. And there's $30,000 for consultants to help on some projects. We're hoping to outsource some of the items so we can move through some of our projects quicker. I think it's something that's needed because we do have, everything's IT based. Today, Alex and Jay were working at 911 on the CAD system. We totally had to reboot it. The phone system's now IT based. Everything in the Sheriff's Office is IT based. Jane's probably, I'd say, her primary responsibility currently is the mobile data terminals. Changing those out, maintaining those, Also, with regards to fire rescue, all the iPads, et cetera, tough books in all those units are all serviced by us. So they're always working on those. And that's really become, Jane's doing much more of those type of issues. We've got a lot of equipment to be replaced, so we're hoping this other person will take care of that.
Okay, hold Wayne, as we go along, if there's any question, please ask. If they're moving too fast, please slow them down for pages so we can keep up with where Wayne is. And there any concern or question, please do.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry if I go too fast, Mr. Spain.
Okay.
Shared office expense, we did lower phones because we're hoping as we transition over to this new ISP system that we'll save some money there. Electoral board, the only changes on this one are primaries. There are 2 scheduled. Those are partially paid back at approximately 50% by the party, either Republican or Democrat. We will no longer have May elections, as the next May election is next year, and then those terms will be extended to the end of the year, and they will now be coming under November elections per change in state law.
Won't that be a lot easier on them when registrar's office?
It'll probably give a lot higher. One of the reasons why they did it was they were trying to improve voter turnout. May elections historically have had terribly low voter turnouts in the 10-15% range. And not just here, across the state, because it is such an off time. So you had a small number of people doing it, and so only one of our towns had switched over, I think Broadnex. All the rest of them had continued, and they actually had to pay full cost for that. But that state law changed on that one. Also, on page 11, General Registrar, the salary is an increase on that one because of a change in state law, starting the minimum salary on that to the treasurer's minimum salary for a community based on comp board. And that is fully reimbursed by the state. Circuit Court, no changes there. That is, again, paid for by Mecklenburg, Lunenburg, and Appomattox. It's based on our court case, and this is for the assistant who helps the judge here. And she works, and it's based on court case, so we do get reimbursed. No changes on the next page for General District. Magistrate is the same. There is a decrease in the juvenile and domestic relations. I've spoken with Judge Miller. There is a push not to use WW Moore and other juvenile detention facilities as much as in the past. We, though, do have 4 beds reserved there, and that goes back to the early to mid-90s, if I'm not mistaken. I think Sandra and I were probably about the only ones here when that happened, but the county didn't have any bed space for juveniles, so the sheriff's office could be taking them to Bristol, Fairfax, Stanton, or Virginia Beach. WW Moore was expanding. They went to all the communities in our area, and everybody reserved, and you pay a debt service on that bed space each year, whether you use it or not. But we don't use them nearly as much as you used to, correct, sir? And there's a move afoot. But the one thing that is increasing there is home monitoring. So that is an increasing growth, and it's a much cheaper, but they are using that more and more.
Question, Wayne, do you see that changing in the future with us having lock in with these 4 beds for the judges, sending people, less people?
Well, this is usually pre-sentencing. Would you agree? Although some pre-trial, correct?
Pre-trial, and it could be one of those times, Mr. Spain, that gang issue, we arrest a bunch of juveniles and hold, to court or whatever for any hearing. So I think it is good to have these for us instead of having to go to Bristol or.
Right. If you go to Bristol, that's 2 officers, because you cannot have 1 in there. You have to have 2. They've got to go the night before, spend the night, pick up one of these juveniles, bring them here, have court, take them back, spend the night, and then come back the next day, unless they do 3 trips to Bristol back and forth, and that's 15 hours plus court. If you're in Fairfax, that's Northern Virginia one, you've got 3.5, 4 hours. That's at least go up the night before to get them here back, and still you're paying overtime. And you've got 2 officers. So going to Danville's much cheaper in the long run with regards to
And I
personnel.
foresee that we are still gonna have to be dealing with these juveniles for serious crimes.
And the juveniles are doing more and more serious crimes, such as up at Chase City, the beating that they had up there a couple of years ago with a large group. And in many of these cases, you have to have these juveniles at different facilities. So they can't all be together, correct, sir?
The murder that we had over in Clarksville this past summer, good example. You had to house people in different facilities, cause the shooter at the time was 17. There'd been some Chase City incident, good example. If they're gang members, you don't wanna put them all in the same place where they communicate. You have to separate them, so it's an expense. And
Right, okay.
try not to have much more of an expense, we can help.
Yes, this sounds like something we need to keep,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Okay. Clerk's office, there's some additional reimbursements from the comp board. Other than that, no real changes. Jurors has been increased. What we're getting paid back has increased. It used to be we only got paid on criminal cases. All civil cases were fully the responsibility of the county. Due to COVID, they're now paying for everybody because the number of jurors that the sheriff has to bring in, the clerk's office brings in, is greatly increased. Last case you had,
100.
usually we would have had 20. They brought in 100 people that they had to keep separated, everything else. So the state has, using CARES money to reimburse counties 100% on jurors from now on.
Because of the guidelines, you can only have X number in this room, X number in this room, and you have to have a deputy with them. This last jury trial, we had investigators, we had upper supervision that were either help cover the road or cover the courthouse. It's putting a strain on us. And you're gonna have more and more jury trials. These attorneys gonna use that angle.
But that is a reimbursable, so if it goes over, it doesn't cost you all in local funds. Any other questions on that one?
When this money plays out, though, that's paying them now, I mean, will this come to a halt?
Probably, but what has happened in the past, we counted on about 25 to 50% being jury trials for criminal cases and about the other half civil. So you got about half of it back. You're not talking huge amount of money. Hopefully, once COVID goes through and maybe we won't have to have so many, there won't be. But it was only about $10,000. But it's been civil cases for as long as I can remember. But you get very few of those. Victim witness, no changes on that. Southside Center for Violence, they did only request $8,000 this year. I've kept them at 10 because we've had it there for the last 2 years. This is for Madeline's house, and I know y'all want to support that. So you did get the report a couple months ago, so we did keep their funding level. Commonwealth's attorney, we did major increase there is going to be in insurance. We had several new attorneys come on. We have had a lot of turnover in that department over the last 6 months. We're down to, the Commonwealth is the only original member from a year ago. All the other Commonwealth attorneys are new, the assistants. They've all left. 2 of them have to become Commonwealth attorneys in other jurisdictions, 1 to be an assistant. So, therefore, there's some changes there, but that's the biggest change is regarding insurance. Office supplies, things of that nature. Sheriff's Department. This is one of those departments that we did look at a larger pay increase. We're trying to get our salary competitive with other areas. The starting salary at the regional jail was moved up from 34 to 40 back in March. We're looking at moving ours up to 40. Because of that, we have compression throughout the system. Judy contacted other counties. If y'all interested where we were behind a couple of them, Charlotte and Brunswick. There is a proposal in Brunswick for a 7,000 increase in Sheriff's Department starting salary for their deputies. They were at 39.5. We're getting ours to 40 starting. Even the 5%, they'd be at 42. Charlotte County was above us. We feel this is what we got to do to be competitive and keep good quality officers. So our starting salary goes up to the 40, and that goes a ripple effect throughout the entire system.
Are you having any trouble finding officers?
Nationwide, statewide, it is a problem to find qualified. We're very fortunate here. The county, working with us over the last, 10 years I've been here, makes it easier for me to get good people. And that's a plug for Mecklenburg County. I'll throw it out there.
We do
I've
have,
got 4 in school right now, and they're doing a great job from what I understand. I've talked to the director, so they're smoking it. Look forward to them getting out here. But yes, we've been very fortunate.
What's the commitment on that after we send them to the school?
As far as,
2-year commitment?
it's a 2-year contract now. We started January 1st, so they have a 2-year contract that they have to pay us back for the school. 21 of those officers are y'all's. We probably 40% of his department is county paid spots. So we move people around, but we're trying to keep a quality force and sheriff's department, and we think this is what we got to do it. We've got to stay competitive. I can tell you this year, Halifax was looking at raises also heavily on 911 because they were much lower paid than us. Next year, sheriff's office. So we've got to stay competitive in this market. And you want quality deputies. You want the best at this because we want people who are ready and even keeled and make good decisions.
and I think most of us, back in the day when we switched over to the regional jail, used to be the jail we had here. If you had X number of population, then you got an emergency correctional officer. Some of these ECOs never worked the jail. The sheriff would put them on the road to fill out the road positions. When we went to the regional concept, I had 10 deputies that were classified as ECOs. Some had never even worked a jail. They would have had to have gone to the regional jail. So Wayne, the board at the time, Andy, David, we were new getting into this, so we might not have known the whole concept, but the county stepped up and took those 10 positions. And that meant a lot to my department. We got 22 on the road, let's say. That was almost half I would have lost, because I couldn't change their classification.
And we'd had 10 before that. So we've been very lucky that we were able to do that, timing-wise and everything else. So we hope that's going to keep us very competitive with regards to it. I also want to compliment the sheriff's office because they were able to find savings in their budget of an additional $50,000 to help cover that cost. And on top of that, on those 30 positions, you get the 5% from the comp board on the base comp board salary, whatever that is per that position, whether by their rank, years of service, et cetera, just like it on the school board, as I'll explain to y'all on their SOQ positions later on. So that did help. So it wasn't as if you were coming up with all the funds. There was state funds and savings that was that the sheriff's office were able to find in their existing budget.
Yeah,
A true salary reclassification. I have to say, Andy and Deborah and the sheriff worked very hard on it. They looked at every position. It wasn't just across the board. They really looked at every position with the starting salary, with years of service, their training, and their rank. So they worked hard on that.
But then again, you want to speak into this. If y'all don't know, Andy Ezel, he's my major now. Terry retired back in March, and we hadn't officially announced to y'all that he would be number 2 in command. Andy and Deborah did one heck of a job. Judy being polite, mentioned me. Those two really did it all. For several days, they were locked in the room. We wouldn't even let them out for lunch.
wow.
But they did a great job.
Yeah, just a comment. In order for the sheriff and other department to have good people, the county have to have salary benefit competitive. or else we'll be a training ground for other counties. So that's important for us. Okay. Question, Tom, can you still hear us loud and clear?
Yes, sir, I can hear.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Wayne,
Thank you.
continue on.
Okay,
Congratulations, Andy, by the way.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, Andy.
Okay,
You've come a-
yeah,
you've come a-
congratulations.
You've come a long way since Dixie Youth Baseball.
Well, there'll be condolences too, so be careful with your congratulations.
August 1 will be 27 years.
All right.
Results.
Good for you.
You still training them, no, ain't you?
tough crowd tonight, okay. Next, on fire service, both fire service and rescue requested an emergency services training coordinator. This is fire service to really keep up with all the volunteers, all the training, et cetera. Rescue also, there's not one included in this year's budget. Couple reasons. We don't have space for it. I'll be honest, right now, in John's office, I've got Zubrod helping him out. There's not room for a third one, and we really got to expand this building to try to find some room. I did put in the capital plan for next year for a vehicle for it, so we're hoping that in the next year's budget, at some point in time, we'll be able to hire that position, but it's not in there this year. I just don't have, and I don't think it would be proper for us to hire this position and then have to put it in one of the departments for them to operate. I don't think that's a good situation. So I know that was a request. Other than that, the money stayed the same this year, and we do fund, again, the cell data, fire training center, the SRO software, and the tough books, et cetera, for them. Rescue, in the past, the 4 squads were getting $150,000 each. They requested a $75,000 increase to each squad, so a 50% increase would take them to $225,000. I did include in this budget $50,000 to each one of them, which takes them up to $200,000 for a $200,000 increase, and then $10,000 more for Lake Gaston. We did not fully fund it this year because of the size of the increase, and we've looked at some of their financials. We feel like this is a good increase. They have not had an increase in several years, though. It has been 5 years since they had an increase. But this will get them, I think, through this year, hopefully, and we'll come back next year and look at it again. The only thing, again, was the training officer we did not put in. Questions on that? No changes to court services unit. The VJ CCA is a grant, so that's state funds. Meharry River Regional Jail, there is an increase. It's only about $110,000. We are looking at doing some capital. We increased the starting salary to $40,000. We were able to do that with other savings throughout their budget. We do have a very large true-up coming at the end of this year. I would say approximately $600,000 because of the percentages changed in our budget due to COVID. Would you agree, sir? So we'll actually look at trying to pay that back to ourselves out of additional COVID funds that we have left over from the existing original CARES monies last year. We'll be looking at using that to pay that and our money from last year and the money we had to true up and also for the landfill. But just, so we are increasing that, the $110,000, but our additional costs are not as bad as our true up this year. We don't know what next year will be. We have right at 50% of the population there, correct, sir?
Correct.
With regards to the jail, by increasing their starting salary, of course, that affected our sheriff's office, but we have been able to recruit a lot of new personnel there. So hopefully that will help us get our satellite back open here in June at the Boynton site. Next, no real changes to Piedmont Court Services, both the Corrections Act and the next page, the pretrial. Building inspection, there is an additional inspector in there. If y'all remember, we hired Jeff back in the middle of the budget. I took the truck that Eddie was requesting under repairs and moved that into our capital. There is an increase for certifications and classes. Most of those, though, are online now. They're not having any of them in person. It's really, the other ones are just fuel supplies increasing by having 3 vehicles on the road, office supplies, et cetera. Questions on that? And due to COVID, you can now apply for your building permit online. So that does help some. Animal control. No real major increases in that. Part-time is up, but we did give some increases there, but that's it. That and pound supplies are up, but we've been able this year to have a very good inspection, and we're planning on staying ahead of that. No changes under medical examiners, emergency services. The training coordinator, as you can see, was requested. I've taken out the part-time because we can actually pay for that out of CARES fund if we don't budget it. So we're going to pay for that out of that. And no other changes in that. Red Cross is the same. 911. That's again another department based upon what other localities are doing and the fact that 5 of those dispatchers are actually paid for by the comp board through the sheriff's office. We have increases there on salaries, trying to stay competitive. You have 18 people down there, and that is one of our major concerns with what Brunswick was proposing on theirs and what Halifax is doing to catch up with us. We have to stay competitive because if not, wherever we pay fire, rescue, police doesn't make any difference because there's no one to send them. So that's where our major increase came in down there. We also had an increase to, let me see. Public safety radios and maintenance contract went up about $40,000. There's also a grant in there that's being reimbursed from AT&T for EZNet. It was supposed to have gone in last year. It has not yet. We'll see if it goes in this year, but that's why public safety radio is up so much there. One thing that is in the budget this year under John's, just going back real quick, 5,600, we did get the grant for the generator at the Clarksville Community Center, so that's our part of the match. We'll be putting a generator there so it can be used as an emergency shelter in Clarksville. If not, the fire department really doesn't have room. If it's a long-term power outage or anything, what we found is the people in the community don't have it, so those volunteers, families are going to the squads in the firehouses so their people can be taken care of. We really don't have the room to bring in people otherwise for that, especially with COVID. And having them, if you have COVID and you have people who are sick or in there, then you can lose an entire squad. That's happened in one of the neighboring jurisdictions with one of their firehouses. They lost, I think, 80% of the people either had it or were in quarantine at one time. So we're trying to find sites in each one of the towns. This here, Chase City, separately, because we can actually do their squad, where their squad is and where their bingo hall is are separate. Separate entrances, separate everything. So we'll look at maybe doing them next. We do have in South Hill the elementary school, so we're trying to come up with separate shelters outside of the facilities that would have to be open and having volunteers take care of it.
This can't be tied into CARES Act.
It's a different grant. So we'll see, but it actually had to have a local match, if I'm not mistaken on this one, so we'll put the 5,600. I don't want to get in trouble with any grant agencies. Some of them say you have to actually put up local money on some of these FEMA grants. So, questions on 911? No changes to Roanoke River Service Authority. Landfill's another one of those departments where compensation was the major issue. As you know, our people have had to fight through some extremely terrible situations over the last year. We're trying to bring those salaries up and be competitive. Also, we've increased our wages starting May 1 to $11. That included our work release, some of our other employees riding trucks, and we're barely above that in our convenience centers, so that'll be changing. But there was a large increase there to try to make those salaries competitive, especially with regards to what they've had to put up with.
We still seeing an extra like surge in
Every time they give out another set of stimulus checks, yes, sir. Literally, when the checks started coming, you should have seen the furniture landing up and empty TV boxes, big screens. That one we didn't see. It's not just here. We had our regional meeting last week of the regional landfill. Sterling was there. Sorry, you weren't. But the other two counties both said the same thing, did they not, Mr. Wilkinson?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it was, you could not find a big screen TV, sofas, furniture. They've even talked to some of the furniture businesses and said, I don't have anything. I'm getting in new stock. Everything I've got sold. So it's that they're spending the money, and it's quite evident at the dumpsters. The guys are working on Saturdays. We have hired a bunch of part-time people to help replace. We've got a couple work release, thank goodness, back. At one time we had none, so we've hired some part-time people who are helping Dennis and them out riding on the trucks, and that has really helped free up the other drivers to do other things, trying to do maintenance back at the sites, because we have not done any maintenance at any of the sites over the last year. We were just stretched too thin. Recycling programs, et cetera, so we're getting back to normal. We're going to continue with those other bodies. So we've got an extra set of group of people in there that are in this budget so that we can actually play catch-up this year.
But you said temporary. Are there any plans to bring them on full-time?
None full-time. They're working 3 days a week is what we're trying to do. Or we could average, as long as you average under the 29 and a half. So there might be 3 days this week, 4 days the next. Doing that at this point in time, we're hoping to get work release back. We're probably going to continue with some of these. So that's why you see that increase. We're trying, we'd do something. Dennis's men were at the end, and we were just getting ready to start up on 6 days a week again. So that's really seemed to help. We went on that and found some folks, and so far it's working well, I think, don't y'all?
It is. They had a big day today too.
Yeah, we do have a new person who will be doing, writing tickets. They started today, and so hopefully we'll see some changes in that.
Do we have money in budgets for the maintenance of the grounds around the dumpsters where we need gravel, extra gravel? Because
Yes, sir, that's in the site maintenance. And I went up from 75 to 80. We've got that, and if we need to, we can pull some from somewhere else. But we do have money there. That also pays for engineering and anything that we have to do with regards to that. And also in our landfill fund, we have another $50,000 appropriated there that we could take funds from also.
Since he's hit on that, is there any chance that we could put an apron at the 15 North site? It gets so bad so quick. They came out there the other day and straightened it out, and it looked better. It's already getting back.
We're at 15 North.
Right across from Logan Park.
Oh, that's going to be replaced. We're actually going out to bid on that this year. We got our permit from DEQ last Monday.
Oh, to put an apron on?
No, to build the new convenience center on Penn Road.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
yeah.
okay, Penn Road, right.
So that's gonna go away.
15 North, 'cause at one time,
That's going away.
we'll
Everything,
do everything.
everything's gone.
South or east.
No, that's gone too. Everything, all the way up 15. There will not be anything over there.
I thought
So you
it was
get-
15 south.
No, sir. It's taking it 15 North too, just like we did at South Hill.
South North was gonna be part of Shea City, it was gonna be another site.
We'll have to build one over probably at somewhere around Bluestone Middle School for that area. But we said there will not be anything around Clarksville within a 5-mile radius.
49.
If you do, it's no point. They're just going to take it all to that one.
Leave one dumpster over there for me.
So, but no, sir, all those sites will be going in. Everything. The one out on 58 east of Clarksville will be gone too. Everything. If you don't, what we have found is it migrates to it, and then it just becomes a massive landfill.
I just thought it was gonna be everything from Clarksville down, 49 and, you know.
58, yeah. That plus also back around.
That area.
We try to get it within a 5-mile radius. So that's why I said the next one would probably be at Bluestone Middle. That'll cover everything between Chase City and Clarksville,
Well,
or
you know,
somewhere in that range.
well, you know, when you move 15 South, when you move that to Penn Road, you're gonna have to put a fence up, because you know they're gonna drive in, just dump it on the ground and leave.
We have not seen that because we have gone out and in the past. Now, all I can tell you is at the other sites, we put up signs where they're at. We'll put up cameras. We'll have our folks looking, sheriff's office also, because I want to see anybody around there. But in the past, we had a couple times people dump. We cleaned it up and they stopped.
How about across Bluestone Creek? I mean, way on, 15 north, those gonna disappear too?
Mhm.
Everything the 5 miles?
Yeah, because everything's going to come from Charlotte County. It's already coming in there. You're not going to see them. The problem we got at Chase City right now on 92 is 90% of the garbage is coming in there is coming from Charlotte County, from up at All Good and All Goods,
Yeah,
both those
All Good.
sites there. 90% of it comes from another county. Everything that you're seeing, pretty much that's on 15, is coming from Charlotte coming in, especially everything on that border, because Charlotte doesn't have any dumpster sites back over there. Their convenience center is at Red Oak. So they're just hauling it down and dumping it right there. Yes, sir.
Well, I know a couple of those dumpsters are probably, there's one right there at Lakeview Estates. That's gotta be more than
That's-
5 miles. Much more.
We've got, yes, sir, there's going to be
5
some.
miles from each door.
Well, like I said, we might have to keep a few there for the time being. But the reality is that's going to move too when we get to the next sites. So it's a steady progress. And the ones that you've got down at Nelson, they're more than 5 miles up. But we've got to take everything in that area because the majority of it's coming out of Carolina. And if you do not, then everything is just going to go there and you've made it worse. So unfortunately, there are some areas that are going to have, people are going to have to go more than 5 miles temporarily until we can get new sites built. But this is a domino effect. If you pull it up, it just goes to the next one unless you get everything in that area. I don't have an other than that's what we've seen at other places.
Can't size it.
Actually, what we found is over 50% of the garbage goes away. If you looked at the number of dumpsters that we had around South Hill, all the way from Warren Store to Heinz Grocery, all the way around and down below, we took out over 50% of the dumpsters, and we dumped them a quarter of the time that we used to.
What is it done on landowners? Just
No, it was coming in from other counties.
Okay.
So like at Heinz, we dumped Heinz 5 days a week, and there was 11 dumpsters there, and they were all full 4 days a week,